In the age of a computer, one pastor seeks to discuss your curious inquiries. Join us. It is time for LWYAA.
Hello everyone, welcome. It is time yet again for another episode of Last Week You Asked About, also known as LWYAA. And it's gonna be a really fun night. I've been looking forward to this. We gonna get silly. Oh, we're gonna have so much fun. If you are watching right now, I decided, since this is the second episode, I can still change things up. I'm gonna give you a Renaya? Which is basically right now I'm asking. This is something I want you to answer for me as we wait for people to get on, hop on, and join the fun tonight on LWYAA. What discounted food product do you miss? Callie, hello! Oh, she knows what the jacket's all about. Hold on, I gotta... Somebody, why is that blue? That should not be blue, but she understands the jacket. I want you to comment right now, what discounted food product do you miss while I fix the text for the comments. Should be white, shouldn't be blue. Give me a moment. There we go. Fixed it. Should work now? Yeah! She said nice jacket. I'm not even going to say what it's about. Callie knows. You can comment no. Let me know what discounted food product you miss. I'll talk about mine while people are coming in. What discounted food product do I really miss? I miss these. Long ago, I believe it was the 90s, Doritos came out with something, and it was called the 3D Doritos. They were very good. They were basically Bugles. I understand. But they had Zesty Ranch. Oh, and Zesty Ranch was so zesty, and it was so good. And I just remember, they were 3D. They were basically like tiny little Doritos. Tinier, tiniest. And they just were delicious. They kind of popped. They had like air inside of it, but it was like Zesty Ranch air. And if the world needs anything right now, it needs more Zesty Ranch air. Let's just be honest. I'd love to know what you miss most. Discontinued food. Did I spell discontinued? My Aunt Rita just logged in, and then I got very stressed out that I somehow misspelled a word. Discontinued food product. That's the one that I missed. What does Tina miss? She misses group meeting food? You mean like when we used to be able to gather together, spend time together? Oh, I miss that. What is Alice misses sours? What are sours? Do you mean like the Altoid sours? Do you guys remember the orange tangerine Altoids? Oh, they were so good. They were the best. Let me know what discontinued food product you miss. I'm going to play that music again because I like it. Gonna get started here in just a little bit, but I'd love to hear a little more. Ooh, Koski Home Group has killer food. I'm sure it does. First got the killerest food. I just want to say it again. 3D Doritos were my jam. They were so good. I think they only lasted a year. Oh, Zowers. I wonder what Zowers are. I don't know what Zowers are. Gonna have to give it a goog. Hold on. Gonna Google Zowers. Zowers. Oh. I don't know if you can see it. But it was the green screen doesn't like that. Zowers. Interesting. Feel free to comment if you have any more additional things to say about what can discontinued food product you miss. My girl, my love, my everything. Kristen Cruz says she misses Starbucks flat spinach croissants. Girl, seriously? With all the copious amount of delicacies that the Lord hath provided for us, flat spinach croissants? And that sounds like a name you'd call me. You flat spinach croissant. Go take out the trash. Oh, do you guys guys remember Jujubes? This is the episode tonight. We're just gonna sit and talk about discontinued food. Jujubes were great, but they were not braces friendly. Orthodontist would be like, no to you using Jujubes were so good. Yeah, oh man, I feel like we could talk about this forever, but I'm gonna get rid of that, and I want to yet again welcome you tonight to LWYAA. Look at that. Did I have a different camera? I do have a different camera. So happy that you guys are here. Thank you for joining me tonight for the silly fun time that is answering and talking about the things that you wanted to talk about. Again, I've just been having so much fun prepping for these, having fun seeing everybody's comments. And again, please, like, really the show, if I could use a word like that, is all about your guys' participation. So please comment. I can show everyone's comments live. And even if you have an idea for a future LWYAA episode, if you're like, oh, I'd love to, talk about this, you can comment that. I'll see it and I'll make sure it gets on the next episode of Last Week You Asked About. And this was by popular demand. This was the green screen background that you guys told me to use, so I'm going to be using this one primarily. Let's look at the comments. Ooh, we're talking about discontinued food items. Let me get rid of the LWYAA logo. Moon pies? Are moon pies really gone? I love me some moon pies. Very good. Let's see. Everybody's really everyone's talking about this flat spinach croissant. Apparently the greatest thing Starbucks ever gave us. That's hilarious. Blackjack gum. Hey Pam, good to see ya. Missing you. That's funny. Blackjack gum. Do you guys remember crows? They were like dots, but just black licorice. My Baba loved those, and I love some crows. Are you guys ready for the very first question? We might as well get going. We have a lot to discuss tonight, and I have an amazing wife at home who's letting me do this really stupid thing. Thanks for participating, babe. I got to get home soon. But let's talk about the very first thing that you guys wanted to talk about. Last week, you asked about this. Working out, staying healthy while in quarantine. Now, obviously, I mean, come on. I am the epitome of fitness. I have a flawless body. Kristen, comment real quick. Say, yes, he's got a flawless body. And then I'll throw it up there and then everybody can know. No, it has been so hard to stay fit, to stay healthy, to stay positive. During this quarantine, we're all stuck at home. So I'd love to know, what have you been doing? How have you been staying fit? How have you been staying active? I did a little bit of running. It had been a while since I'd done running, just kind of some back roads around our house. Oh, there it is. Thus saith the Christian. No, wait, wrong way. This way. That's all you guys need to know. Thanks for coming to LWYAA. So, yeah, how have you guys... Oh, what has my Uncle Joe been doing? Uncle Joe's been running up our driveway. Oh, I mean, that's a really steep incline. I will say this. I went to Big Five. I went to Big Five twice because the first time they were completely out of weights. Like they had nothing but they had like the little pink and orange like 3-pound weights. Which if you're all about the 3-pound weight, ain't no shame in that. That's totally fine. But I wanted at least a 25-pound. So I went back last Friday and I got a 25-pound weight, just one, because that sucker was like $47. And I don't know about you, but that was a lot of money for me, so I've been using that, and gosh, it's been nuts. I miss the gym. I miss Give Fitness. That's the gym that my wife and I go to. Love Give Fitness, miss Give Fitness. So I love it. All this talk about fitness has made my wife want pizza, so that's good. You guys are it's my fault for starting with a question about food. We're talking about fitness. Love to hear how you're staying healthy. During this quarantine time, trying to move around, trying to stay healthy. Will, what's up, man? Pastor Will in the house. Yeah, swimming's been good. I miss being able to go outside. It sounds so weird. Welcome to Fallout. I miss being able to go outside. Tina's got a pizza in the oven. Share it. You better share that pizza with the group Tina, please. So anyways, let me know. How have you been working out? How have you been staying healthy? How have you been, staying positive? I think that's the most important thing is making sure we're staying positive during all that. Now, before the quarantine, Aunt Rita, you remember this. I had my 30th birthday party. And it was funny because I didn't know at the time that was going to be like the last hoorah before everything went nuts. But I had been working for months trying to make sure I was eating healthy, staying healthy, working out as much as I could. To say like, I am 30 and I'm in the best shape of my life. And then, the whole world decided to try and end itself. And I've gained I think at least 5 pounds. So my goal, my fitness goal is to when everything resumes, we're able to have church, we're able to gather. I want to look at least as good as I did at my 30th birthday party. That's all. I don't need to look better. I just hope that when you see me next, you just went, oh, okay. This is how I remember you. And not like, oh, what happened to Garrett? Like there's 2 of you now. No, I want to look like how I looked at my 30th birthday party. And I need the conversation about pizza to end. If I'm going to look at least as good as I did during my 30th birthday party. You guys are so funny. Oh, Tina bringing the pizza emojis. That is so great. Let's see. Remember, Kelly. Remember restaurants? Yeah, do you guys remember restaurants? Remember that? I think when everything resumes and we're completely able to just go wherever we want to go, see whoever we want to see, I think every restaurant should be family style. Oh, yeah, that's right. You can just cuddle up next to anybody. Be like, this is a table for 2. Well, the 5 of us are joining you. For the cruises. How are you? Everything's family style. That'd be great. Maybe not. Let's see. Well, I'm making Chinese food for dinner right now, so good luck with that. I will totally eat some Chinese food with you, Kristen, when I get back home. As Pastor Will say, my workout routine has consisted of going on walks from living room to the kitchen, then upstairs to my room. You know what? That's good. That's a good victory. I appreciate that. All right. With that, Pastor Will, I'm going to do our victory song as we finish this question. Let me get rid of this. Victory song. One question down. 4 questions to go. Can you tell that I'm not doing too good in quarantine? Going a little crazy. Having fun with you, though. Are you guys ready for question number 2? Let me end that song. The first one, similar to this question. The next one is this. Last week you asked about 1 Corinthians 6:13. And I'll read the verse to you, but the question was about how 1 Corinthians 6:13 says that the Lord is for the body, and then it says, and the body is for the Lord. And how do those 2 things relate? And I think particularly the question was about how is the Lord for the body? Because I'm sure maybe at face level that almost sounds like kind of belittling the importance of the Lord. If, I understand my body is meant for the Lord, but how is the Lord meant for the body? So I am a pastor. I do, in fact, miss my flock, but let me read this verse to you. This is what this verse says. Now, 1 Corinthians is written to the church in Corinth that has kind of gone a little crazy, a little Facebook Live 8 p.m. episode of crazy. I mean, they've gone pretty crazy. And so Paul is writing to the church in Corinth to try and correct some of their theology, try and correct some of just that's their misguidings and misunderstandings of what it means to be a Christian. And so this chapter here in 1 Corinthians is really about honoring God with your body. It's about sexual immorality. It's about just kind of your body being a temple of the Holy Spirit. And so I'll read this verse to you. Let me look at the comments, though. Look at that. Look at that. I love seeing Stanley. Oh, Stanley. You love seeing Stanley. Hold on. Let me get Stanley. Look at that, Stanley. Diligently working, doing his best for Dunder Mifflin. Okay, back to scriptures. So let me read this verse to you. It says this. This is 1 Corinthians 6 verse 13. It says, food is for the stomach, and the stomach is for food, and God will destroy them both. The body, however, is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. And I understand the question, because that last statement right there, and the Lord is for the body, is a little interesting. And again, it almost sounds like the whole purpose of God is for the body. And so for the person who asked this question, if I can just summarize it this way. I think the analogy is best explained if you look at what analogy Paul used just before it. That he says the body is for the Lord. And the food is for stomach, and the stomach is for... That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Food is for the stomach, and the stomach is for food. So what he means by this is, that your stomach needs food. It requires food. That our bodies will literally cry out if they lack food, right? Our stomachs will growl, and so they require food. And then food is meant to nourish that desire, to fill your stomach. And so these two things go hand in hand. And so again, in the context of the church in Corinth, or us just kind of going off the deep end with, with sexual immorality. And so what Paul says here is that our bodies are meant for the Lord, that our bodies are meant to walk in holiness, to walk in righteousness, that our bodies were given to us by God. Rather, they belong to God, right? And so we should honor God with our body. And then just like how the stomach cries out for food, that the Lord, the power of God is meant for the nourishment of our bodies, that he would fill us, that he would heal us, that he would restore us. Is that the only thing that God does? No, he does so much more than that. But that's how those two statements go hand in hand, that we are meant to fully follow Jesus Christ, and then Jesus Christ fully fills the desires of our hearts, our minds, and is the perfect empowering of our body. So hopefully that made sense. Let me look at the comments. What sort of crazy things have you guys been saying? Monica says amen. That's all we need. Thank you, Monica, for saying amen. Chris and Fava, what is up? Thanks for hanging out. We be having crazy fun times. So that is question number 2. Last week you asked about 1 Corinthians 6:13. I will say it again, at any time. If you have an idea for a question, a topic for next week's episode, please comment it. I would love to be able to see them, to be able to have them already locked and loaded to be thinking about. So we will move on to the next question, but I will be looking at the comments. But I need to kind of prep you for what is about to commence, what is about to happen. Last week, the very first episode of LWYAA, which is lots and lots of fun, there was a bit of a debate in the chat, a little bit of a back and forth, the likes of which I've never seen before, and the subject of which I knew nothing about. But I believe it was Christina Mathers and Monica Diaz. They began to talk about the subject of East Coast rap and West Coast rap. Now, being a child of not only the 90s, but of suburban Chula Vista, I didn't know much about it. And somebody who would wear a jacket like this didn't know much about East Coast rap and West Coast rap. However, it was a question, it was a topic given to me last week in the first episode of LWYAA. And again, you can comment at any time and give me ones for the next episode. But our next question tonight, our next topic, I can't tell you how much time I've spent on this. Last week you asked about East Coast and West Coast rap. I am very excited to talk about this. I've actually prepared a written statement that I want to prepare. This is what old PGK does in quarantine when he doesn't have normal sermons to work on. So I have this. Are you ready? Last week you asked about East Coast and West Coast rap. I am now an expert on the subject, so let me get this ready to go. This is what they mean when they talk about the East Coast, West Coast rap rivalry. Let us begin, and I'm very happy that Monica and Alicia and Tayon and other people and Pastor Will are here. No, I'm not rapping. I'm reading from Wikipedia. Don't you worry. But maybe the raps will come later. Dang it, you guys got me talking. I gotta restart the song now. The song's only 4 minutes long. I'm on a very tight schedule here. Gosh. Okay, hold on. Okay. Let's begin. The East Coast, West Coast hip-hop rivalry was, or rather is, a feud between artists and fans of the East Coast hip-hop and West Coast hip-hop scenes in the United States, beginning in the early 90s. Focal points of this feud were East Coast-based rapper The Notorious B.I.G. from Bad Boy Records, and West Coast-based rapper Tupac Shakur from Death Row Records. In 1991, angry at record companies' rejection of East Coast artists and the growing popularity of West Coast rap artists and West Coast hip-hop, Bronx rapper Tim Dog decided to voice his anger on the notorious diss track, we'll just call it I'm Not a Big Fan of Compton. This music video depicted violence against LA rap artists. In 1993, the record producer Sean Puff Daddy Combs founded the New York-based hip-hop label Bad Boy Records. The label's debut artist was Brooklyn-based rapper The Notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie Smalls, also known as Christopher Wallace. He became an immediate critical and commercial success and seemed to revitalize the East Coast-West Coast scene. California-based rapper Tupac Shakur publicly accused the Notorious B.I.G. and Sean Puff Daddy Combs of their alleged involvement in an armed robbery in the lobby of Quad Recording Studio in Manhattan on November 30th, 1994. Shortly after this event, Who Shot Ya?, a B-side track from Biggie's Big Papa, was released. Although Sean Puff Daddy Combs and Christopher Wallace, Notorious B.I.G., denied having anything to do with this shooting and said that Who Shot Ya had been recorded well before this alleged shooting, Tupac interpreted it as Big's way of taunting him. Convinced of this, Tupac appeared on numerous tracks aiming threats and antagonistic insults towards Biggie, Bad Boy as a label, and anyone affiliated with East Coast rap. Examples include the songs Against All Odds, Bomb First, and Hit 'Em Up. During this time, the media became heavily involved and dubbed this rivalry a coastal rap war, reporting it continually. And this caused fans from both sides, or from both coasts, to have to take sides. Although an official retaliation record was never released by Biggie in response to Shakur's slurs, a certain number of Biggie's lyrics were interpreted by listeners as subliminal shots against Shakur. In particular, the track Long Kiss Goodnight, which Lil Cease claimed was about Tupac. Sean Puff Daddy Combs, however, steadily denied this theory, affirming that if Biggie were to diss Tupac, he would have called him out by name. Here's the home stretch. That's the sad part. On September 7th, 1996, at the height of the East-West Coast rap rivalry, Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive-by shooting at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Cova Lane in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was reported that the shooting was carried out by a Compton gang called the Southside Crips to avenge the beating of one of its members by Tupac Shakur just a few hours earlier. 6 months after Tupac's death, on March 9th, 1997, the Notorious B.I.G. was killed in a drive-by shooting by an unknown assailant in Los Angeles, California. On September 22nd, 1996, a peace summit was convened in the wake of the murder of Tupac Shakur, and then another one 6 months after the shooting of Biggie Smalls. Minister Farrakhan continues these summits to this day, which has been held since the 90s, where he continually calls for peace. So just in case you were wondering, what's the deal with East Coast, West Coast rap rivalries? I've now explained it for you. Thank you so much. I know you guys come to me for everything relating to hip-hop, and so you are welcome. I am now going to look at the comments because I was not able to look at them at all. Melissa, what even is all of this? This is LWYAA, girl. This is what we do in quarantine. I talk about what you want to talk about. And you, not you, specifically you, Melissa, but you wanted to talk about East Coast, West Coast rap last week. Monica's not a fan of Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Callie is crying. Your comments are so great. I love it when you call me Big Papa. I know. I understand. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Your guys' comments are so great. So here's the thing. To really bring this to a fold, to really do an altar call here, the battle went on for many, many years, for 5 or 6 years. And now there are services, if you will, calling for peace, calling for unity. And I really think that that's what we need to be about today. We need to be about peace. We need to be about unity. We need to be there for one another during these very unique times in our world, and shouldn't be about what coast you live in or what rap you enjoy. It should be about the Lord's rap, which is the world. In closing, I just want to tell you that I care if nobody else care. I know they like to beat you down a lot. When you come around the block, brothers clown a lot. But please don't cry. Dry your eyes and never let up. Forgive, but don't forget. And friends, keep your head up. You're welcome. Tried hard on that one. Will, thanks for joining us. This is great. So yeah, that was the East Coast, West Coast rap. Again, I talk about what you want to talk about. The Lord's rap. That's really what it's about. Yes, okay. We're going to have a great transition right now as we move on to question number 3. So, come take a ride on my Segway when we begin a new question. Monica knows. Monica knows the song. I love it. Okay, next question is this. I actually really, really enjoyed this question. Last week, you asked about science versus Genesis. I'm going to move over here to my preaching cam, I'm going to call it now. Last week, you asked about, I'm falling off my chair, science versus Genesis, which the question is this. Let me scroll past all that information about East-West Coast rap. What do we do? And there's actually a lot of debate, a lot of discussion about this. What do we do about the creation narrative in the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, and what do we do with that kind of juxtaposed against, or maybe in conflict with, what we know about the world and what we know about science? And this is a very large debate, a large conversation, not enough for me to just answer here in a few minutes. But again, this show's called Last Week You Asked About, and last week you asked about this. And I will say this, that there are a lot of people that really obsess over those two, we'll say 3. 3 is kind of when Satan and everything goes crazy, but there's a lot of people that really obsess over the beginning of the Bible and use that to really say things that Scripture doesn't say. They'll read the genealogies found in the writings of Moses, and they'll try and do some math based on that, and they'll say, because of those genealogies, the earth is only 6,000 years old. And they'll just shoehorn that into the Bible, where the Bible has never said that. The Bible does not say that. And they'll hold that sort of thing, even though it's antithetical to what we know about the world through science. They'll say, you know what? No, you got to believe that if you're going to be a Christian. And again, they really try and, I think a good lesson for just kind of interpreting Scripture is where, when the Bible speaks softly, we should speak softly. When there are things that, like, there's a lot of, I don't really know what's going on here. Let's try and read other scriptures, but when the Bible speaks softly, we should speak softly. Where the Bible speaks loudly, like Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. We should speak loudly on that. We shouldn't go, I don't know what he meant by he's the only way, Maybe there's additional ways. No, when the Bible speaks softly, we should speak softly. When the Bible speaks loudly, we should speak loudly. But what is going on in the beginning of Genesis? And let me go ahead and look at your questions here in just a little bit. I am praying that this is recorded forever. Oh, don't you worry. This whole thing will be available forever, I guess, until I delete it after shame. Keep your head up. You guys are still talking about East-West Coast rap. So let's go ahead and talk about the beginning of Genesis. And I want to give you kind of 3 different perspectives that people have used to try and figure out what is going on in that beginning creation narrative with what we know about science. But I will start, and I'll probably end by saying this, and I say this a lot when I'm preaching on Sundays and we're talking about the beginning of Genesis, that what is the purpose of the book of Genesis? What is the purpose behind that creation narrative that God gives us in Genesis 1, 2, and 3? It is not to fully explain to you the how of creation, but rather it is to introduce you to the who of creation. It is not a scientific book. It is not a cosmological book. It is a book rich in theology and relationship, as the Bible introduces us to this incredible, loving God that made us, that made everything that we know, that made us on purpose and for a purpose, introduces this reality of sin and brokenness, and then in Genesis 3 shows a promised coming son from Eve that will crush the head of the serpent. It's this introduction to God, the human condition, and human salvation through Jesus Christ. The purpose is not to fully explain all of the inner workings of what we know through science. It just says, God said, let there be light, and there was light. It doesn't say, now listen, by light we mean photons, and by that there would be matter needed for the photons to be able to, and so your eyes, it just says, let there be light, and there was light. And that's it. So there's been a couple things to people have been said. So the first one is this, and I wouldn't agree with this, but there are some people that will read through the creation narrative in Genesis 1, 2, and 3 and just say, I don't know, God did things different back then that's different than how we see the universe to be working in science. So God kind of like retroactively, I want to make sure you see my hands, my preaching hands. God kind of retroactively changed science after the creation narrative that we see in Genesis 1, 2, and 3, where they will say, God made trees to look old, but they're not really old. That they like he made these trees to look like they're millions and millions and millions of years old, or whatever, or things like, there's no dinosaurs mentioned in the creation narrative, so I don't know. But dinosaurs can't be real because we don't see it in the creation narrative, right? And so they really try and I think this is the most antagonistic way to, or the most, I guess, closed-minded way to say, we can't learn anything from science. Whatever Genesis says, even if it contradicts science, who cares? Stop it. And I just don't see that. I think I think that makes God look like he's deceptive. Like, I'm going to make things appear this way, but that's really not what's going on. And I'm going to say this in this way, but I'm going to retroactively change science. I just don't think that's what happened. But there are people that believe that love the Lord, and we want to respect them. The second thing that people talk about in this creation narrative is that they will try and argue that really we're seeing two creation narratives in Genesis 1, 2, and 3. That kind of, it's God creating the universe, but then when we see kind of the days, the sequential days, that it's not God creating the whole universe. God's actually already done that. Like, they would say that there's a huge gap between Genesis 1 and 2, that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, which the Hebrew for in the beginning, just in case you want to say that the earth is 6,000 years old, the Hebrew for in the beginning is literally at some time. So, I don't know. That's for free. Let me see what the comments are saying. Keep them separate. Hey, Don. Okay, so I'm coming back. So they would say that when we see the day and night cycle, that it's actually God preparing the Garden of Eden for Adam and Eve. And you could totally disagree with that. You'd be like, nope, that doesn't make any sense. But they would say that there's kind of two things going on. That when he talks about the light, when he talks about the plants, that it's saying that God made those, and God created those, and then you kind of see that he moved these around, and basically it was him making the Garden of Eden after he had made the entire universe. The third one is this, and I want to be very careful here because you can totally go down a heretical rabbit hole, if you will. But there are people that will say that beginning is a non-literal. That what is going on is this is the story of ancient Israel's understanding of the complexity of our creative, holy God. The intro of the Bible is written in a way that is, again, theological in nature and poetic in nature, in order that ancient Israel might understand the big picture truth in their understanding of what science and cosmology and biology would be in their time. It's their way of being introduced to the God of the world. And so with all of that, I will say, I'm not going to go, and that's the one I believe. I believe God created everything. I believe that science and faith don't need to be enemies. That I think Christianity is where science finds its proper home, for sure. I don't think we should be afraid of science. I think we should embrace science as believers. But I will also say that science is not our ultimate authority. That's not me discrediting science. I just know that humans are humans, and that as we learn more about the universe, praise God for that kind of common grace wisdom that he enables us to learn so much about the world in which he's given us. I do know in the end, it's not like when I get to heaven, God's going to be like, so you brought a biology textbook, right? You know, like you brought that middle school science textbook, right? Because I don't know what's going on up here. You probably, I hope you brought it. No, I'm gonna know. You know, and Scripture says that we right now we see in a mirror dimly, but when we are fully known, when we are with God in paradise, we'll all know, and there won't be any discussions. There won't be any LWYAA. You won't need to ask anyone any questions because you'll just be with Jesus, and Jesus can answer everything. Let me look at your questions. Let's see. Kyle's working his 10K steps. Let's see. Uncle Joni. Okay, so here's a question for next week. Love that. Monica, yeah. If we're not clear, then maybe we're not supposed to know. Like, I am totally okay with that as an answer, you know? I don't know. I think in moments like that, when just, you know, because what a puny God we would worship if we could completely fathom and understand everything in this little, however many pound brain, right? Like, I think in those moments you're like, I don't understand. Like, that should just spring forth worship to me, you know? Like, God, thank you that you're beyond full comprehension. Maybe in moments like this, you know, where we don't fully comprehend what's going on with COVID-19 and we're all kind of refreshing our browsers to see what new updates are going on with the world in which we live. You know, God isn't doing that. God knows, and God's got all this. So, excellent question. Thank you so much for sending in that one. We are at our very last question, ladies and gentlemen. Let me look at the comments a little more. Love that, Monica. Yeah, some people are asking about last week. It's on YouTube and it's on my Facebook page. Which, by the way, I'm not doing this on the official Legacy Church page. What? We're Legacy Church now? Because Facebook has said, hey, you have been posting too much video content. You need to chill. And Facebook's been like throttling our church page. So, but you know, whatever. You guys are waiting. Next week, if I can figure it out, I'll figure out a way to make this background a video. So yeah. So the last question tonight is this, and it looks like many, many people are waiting for it. Last question. Last week, you asked about Joe Exotic.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin.
'Cause I saw Tiger, now I understand. I saw Tiger saw man.
One more time. And I saw Tiger. Sing it out, church. Oh, man. Last week you asked about Joe Exotic. If you don't know what we're talking about, where have you been? You've been in a coma, huh? I'm so happy that you've been healed. Welcome back to the land of the living. Things are crazy. We can't leave our homes. What we can do is talk about
Carol Baskin.
Carol
Yeah,
Baskin.
Carol Baskin. So let's talk about this show. Now, people are so excited. I love that. That's what happened last week. You know, Genesis versus science, couple comments. Now we're talking about Tiger King, whole world gone crazy. So very interesting show. If you haven't watched Tiger King, I actually have some notes on why I think it's so popular right now. Let me share them with you. Why in the world is Tiger King so popular? One, I think it came out at the perfect time, right? It's about tigers that are locked in cages, and we're locked in cages, but the tigers are supposed to be free, like we're supposed to be free. And it's about adventure, and it's about someone just going wild that he's, and it's about mystery and who did what and what's the truth, in a time when we're all stuck at home begging for information, where conspiracy theories are going rampant in the world in which we live. And so we're like, yes, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Carol Baskin. Let's talk about Joe Exotic, talk about all that. So yeah, I think that's why it's so popular. So if you haven't watched it, it's not a Christian show. Doesn't have any good VeggieTale lessons for the team. It is a show of murder and romance and
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin.
Let's do this. And murder. And murder. That's right, Callie. And murder. Let's do this. I want to see tiger emojis in the chat if you think Carol Baskin killed her late husband. Do it. Carol Baskin, tiger emojis in the chat. I want to see them. I will not wait. I will not end this episode until I see tiger emojis in the chat. Do you think, should they check the meat grinder? Should they check the septic tank? Did Carol Baskin kill her late husband? And is her new husband just making sure I'll do anything you want? Please don't kill me. I am seeing tiger emojis in the chat. There it is. That's good. Oh, man. So great. Yep. Tiger emojis in the chat. This is so great. Now they're coming in. Yes. Check the meat grinder. Oh, this is great. Sorry, I'm just happy. Everybody, oh man. Yeah, so it's a good show. Amber, I love that. I don't know, but I want. Can I? Yeah, so. Meat grinder for sure? Yeah. Meat grinder for sure. One more time.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin.
I'm going to try and harmonize.
I saw Tiger, now I understand.
Sorry.
I saw Tiger, Tiger saw me.
I didn't harmonize. That was horrible. I'm thoroughly embarrassed with myself. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes. Oh, victory music. Hold on. That concludes the second episode of LWYAA. Let me get the official thing. LWYAA. Last week you asked about all kinds of things, as you saw. Thanks for being a part of the journey. We talked about Genesis versus science. We talked about Joe Exotic. We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about quarantine fitness. We talked about East Coast, West Coast rap. And I think a few other things, but I don't really remember now because you guys have been going crazy with the tiger emojis. With that, I will conclude our time. Guys, thank you so... Oh, you know what? Let me change the background. Hold on. Since you guys have been so good, I want to change it to... Where is it? Let's do that. No, I mean, that's cool, but let's change it to... What was I looking for? This. Windows 95. The operating system of dreams and public schools. Let me put some nice music on for you guys. Let's see. One ring to rule them all. That's right. Last week we talked about Lord of the Rings. It was really fun. I know, Kristen, that was a really bad harmony. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on the very second episode of LWYAA. Last week you asked about, again, comment at any time, what you want to talk about next week on the next episode of LWYAA. This was super fun. You know, this makes me feel like we're all hanging out with a green screen. You want to see the green screen? There's the green screen. Aw, man, the magic is gone. No, it's not. The magic is not gone. The magic has always been here. Super zoom in. Oh, rather, super zoom out. It's all right. Do it again. Zoom in. Zoom in. Closer. Closer. It's okay. There ain't no social distancing in LWYAA. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being part of the fun. I love you and I miss you. I'll turn the music up. We'll dance for like 2 seconds. East Coast, West Coast rap. Didn't know anything about it until a week ago. Then I spent a bunch of time on Wikipedia just for Monica and Christina Matho. That's how I rap. I'm gonna embarrass myself if I keep going. Thank you all for coming. Love you. See you online Easter Sunday. Oh, listen. Hold on. Turn the music off. Easter Sunday. Easter at your place. At Legacy Church. Oh, I love it. Love saying that. You should be a part of it. 9 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 6 p.m. on our website, ourlegacy.online.church. It's going to be good. You better stinking be there, or else I'll never do this again. I'm just kidding. I like doing this. See you next week.